Hello there, folks.
Hi there!
So this is a little bit special episode of
Hooray!
Würfelcast. It's episode 49, but we have a special topic that we go through four episodes in total. Yeah, and this is Kyle's top 100 games of all time, the annual list.
The biannual list.
Is it biannual? Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I do it every 2 years.
Sure. Yes. I did it last year, of course.
Right.
Yeah. But still, this is an exciting list because they've been, I mean, every 2 years. Then there are so many great new games coming out each year
There are.
that uh, you might have quite a few new titles on your
I
list or not.
do. Well, we'll see, right? I did go through and after I made the list, I compared it with my last, I guess my 2019 list. And so I'll have some information on where things are, what's new, what's, I guess, back. Because, right, some things fall off, some things come back on. So I have those pieces of information as well.
Yeah, but I mean, we should be ready to go now.
Oh yeah,
Think
this will
so?
be a long haul, so we might as well just get started.
I mean, it's 100 through 76, and I'll just be
Okay,
here to help with the Board Game Geek screen share.
sure.
That's all I do. When we did my list as well, I had the names written out, but it's because I do all this StreamYard stuff here, and I manage that, so I could put this on the list and still not spoil it for Kyle. But for me, if Kyle gives me the list, it spoils the list for me, and I want to have fun too. It's
Okay,
it's about the people who watch it, of course, but it's also about me having some fun as well, giving some commentary, some Grinch faces, some happy faces, and if Summer of Wars would be dethroned from number one spot,
what?
that would be
I
the
have no
happy. No,
idea.
I'm sorry, that would be the saddest thing.
No comment.
Yeah, sure. All right, so we're not gonna have any side videos of numbers popping up. We're just gonna
Okay.
start off, but first, let me just do this small magic of sharing the Board Game Geek right here.
Ooh,
You
so
can see
magical.
that? Yes.
I can see it.
Oh, top 10 hotness here. Ares
Oh,
Expedition available at where? At Target. Oh, at Target. I see.
well, that's
Yeah.
just a commercial.
Hmm.
But yes, it is available there. All right.
Anyway, let's start with your number 100.
Okay, number 100. This is a game. It is a game that I missed kind of on its first time around. I guess I played it once, but it was recently reprinted, and when it came back out, I got a copy and I really enjoyed it. The game is Ginkgopolis,
Hmm.
which is kind of difficult to spell. It's Ginkg.
Yeah, I know it.
Okay. So this is a weird little engine building game, right? You've got cards, and the cards can be used really for one of three things, right? You can use them to place out tiles. You can use them to get resources. You can use them to build stuff. And there's some drafting back and forth. And the game doesn't look all that great, right? It kind of looks very much like a bunch of components in a pile. But but it's really fun to play, and it's really simple. It's very easy to get into, and I just had a really great time with it. And it was one of those games where I was like, I don't know why I wasn't all over this game the first. I don't know what those big pillars are. Somebody must have done something special. This is a really fun little, shorter, faster engine building game. It's great at two, and I had a great time with it. I was very surprised by how much fun this game was. So it's new to the list, and that is my number 100 Ginkgopolis.
I know it has had a reprint,
Right.
and I think it looks great. It just pops on the table. I like the cover, and I don't know, it's just colorful. I like colorful stuff and of like different layers. So I was looking. I am looking forward to trying this one out. It's
Well,
been long on my
you
wish
might
list.
enjoy it.
Hmm.
Good.
All right, let's get to number 99.
All right, number 99. This is a game that has been on my top 100 list pretty much ever since I've been doing it. The game it used to be a lot higher. It has fallen a lot just because it's one of those games that's very difficult to get played. The game is Millennium Blades.
Hmm.
And so Millennium Blades is this very interesting real-time trading game, right? It's about buying cards for a collectible card game tournament. And you'll have this frantic phase where you're trading with people, you're putting out the cards you don't want, you're buying packs of cards, just sort of throwing stuff around on the table. It's very frantic. And then after about 2 minutes, I believe, you stop and then you kind of organize your deck and you play an okay little card game where you're using the cards and trying to get points, and that part's okay, right? The real fun of the game comes in seeing if you can get the things you want, the excitement of putting the deck together, of getting the cards, opening the packs, throwing the money around, making deals. That part's a lot of fun. And the game's fun too. The real problem with it is that it's a little bit bloated. There's now an expansion which is just as big as the base set, and it's just a very difficult game to excuse me, to teach to somebody new. And you also want to play this with 4 people ish, so you've really got to get enough people together that want to play this odd game. But if you find those people and you get them to learn, this game can be a real lot of fun. And so, like I said, it used to be my number 46. Now it is my number 99. Who knows where it'll go in the future, but I'm still really enjoying Millennium Blades.
Yeah, that's the one I've seen many times. Not the one I'm interested in because it's just a.
Yeah,
I mean, like I like that type of theme. It's like CCG opening packs and things. So that's fun. But everything else, I'm not into card games like Magic the Gathering, etc. All of these,
no.
such games. I don't know to CCGs. I'm not into CCGs themselves. So
And neither am I, right? That whole sort of tournament scene isn't for me. This is a nice way to sort of simulate it in an hour, and then you can put it away and be done. And not
right.
spend actual money on a bunch of cards.
All right, let's get to number 98.
Okay. Number 98, this game also just had I don't know if it was a reprint or republishing, whatever. They came out with a new edition, which is extremely heavy. It's an older game. It's a very fun older game, though. The game is Lords of Vegas. It was not on my list last time, but this is kind of a dice and negotiation game. You're building casinos, and you're building them on the Strip, and you want to get them as close to the Strip as possible because they'll earn more money that way. You want big casinos that are big groups. You want, with the expansion, tall casinos because they're easier to protect. And you're going to get money every turn. You turn over a card and get some new piece of property. And then you've got actions you can do. You can even buy up kind of lots that are next to you and hope that nobody kind of gets them out of the draw, because if they do, then they'll kick you out. And then you're wanting to make your casino as big and strong as possible. You can plan a takeover of someone else's. There's just a lot going on. And the scoring, you're going to buy points effectively at the end of the round. And so you can go up a little ways, but then once you get to a certain area, you have to earn points at higher increments in order to progress. And so the sort of scoring is going to slow down the more points that you have. And so it's a fascinating way to play, and you can do the wheeling and dealing if you want. You can also not, if that's not your thing. But it's still just a real lot of fun. It's an old game that holds up really well. Lords of Vegas.
Yeah, this is the one that it seems like a classic that I just skipped, and I'll be happy to try this one out. I don't
Yeah,
know
the
why.
box doesn't do it any favors. Mine is now in a big, briefcase, and it has these really heavy poker. I mean, the game weighs a ton now. because just the new edition and this heavy tray that's in it. But mine is in a much better box than that.
All right.
So
So let's get to number 97.
number 97. Okay, this is a game that, again, I don't know if you've played this one. It's back on my list. I think it was on my list before, but it fell off in 2019. The game is Yokohama. So Yokohama is, you've got this huge board, and you've got this character that's moving around and leaving a trail of small meeples, and those are going to help you as you move around. And then you're sort of moving onto these spots, and depending on how much strength you have in the spot, you can do bigger and better actions. There's also a 2-player version called Yokohama Duel, which is really quite good as well. But the base game is better. You can play with more people, and there's more to do and explore. It's just an interesting way of kind of building paths, almost building an engine, right? You're sort of making some spaces better for just you. And then there's goals you're trying to do, contracts you're trying to fulfill, all that sort of Euro game trapping on this very interesting game that is just not really like anything else. I don't play it as often as I would, just because it's a very large board, and because of that, it's difficult to set it up in a way where people can see and interact with it everywhere. But the rules aren't hard, and the game's just really a lot of fun. One I look forward to going back to anytime I get a chance. That's Yokohama.
I played the game. I wasn't a fan of Istanbul, so this one is like Istanbul and drugs. It says.
Fair enough.
I heard this from the publisher, or
Oh.
I mean, the marketing. I mean, like it's just like the boosted up version of Istanbul, and it was fine. I liked it. You can see I rated it a 7. The thing about Yokohama, yeah, it's a little bit bloated on the table, and feel like it's different mechanics, different things you can do. Go here, do that, and it feels so unorganized. Kind of when you play it, that's where I was like, okay, not for me. So
Okay. Very well.
let's get to number 96.
Okay, my number 96 is another huge game, a game that is so big, there's so much in it that it makes it difficult for me to get it out and play it, but I still enjoy it whenever I have a chance to. The game is Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. I believe it fell off my list last time, but it's back. There's a lot of I think there's 2 expansion boxes to the base game now, so there's really a lot you can do. But in this game, you're taking over an island. You start on an island, you're moving out, you're trying to conquer your opponent, you're trying to build up a technology track. You've got individual races that have special abilities, and you're going to upgrade those abilities as you go. You can build a big boat and a big airship, and move around more easily and attack things. There's a lot of different ways you can end the game and win, by sort of building up your economic engine or by conquering an opponent's areas. Lots to sort of do and explore in this game. It's very big. And that's sort of its downfall, right? This is the type of game where it's going to be better with more players so that you have more opportunities to interact. But because of that, you're going to need a huge table and a lot of people with a lot of time. It's not it's not as bad as some games that like the sort of Twilight Imperium type of a situation. But it is definitely a game that you're going to want to, if you're going to invest in it, you're going to want to learn how everything works and get sort of the same people so that you can try a bunch of different things. But it's really fun, and it looks pretty good set up too. So that's my number 96, Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
No, another one that I played because it is huge, and I skipped that one because I'm not into such sprawling, huge, 4X game usually. It looks cool though, and maybe someday, one day.
Yeah, someday with a huge table.
Yeah. Let's get to number 95.
Okay. My number 95 is an old classic. This was previously my number 40 on the 2019 list. It's fallen a little bit, but that's not for any. There's nothing wrong with the game. It's still a great one if you can find it. That game is Glory to Rome. So, card game, and it's the card engine building type game. You've got different things you can do. You're finding the ugly version, but that's okay.
That's the only one. It's the entry.
Okay, well, whatever. So you've got cards that are kind of in a pool, and you're going to use them to do different things. And depending on where they are on your little board, they have different functions. One kind lets you store resources. One kind gives you more. One area you're building these cards to make special powers. And that's kind of what you're doing. Every turn, someone's going to pick an action. Everyone else is either going to follow or do something else and just sort of take cards. And so the more that you've got going on, the better your actions are going to be. And so it's really a very clever game. One of the first ones that did this, where you're just building up and you've got these multi-use cards. Just really a lot of fun if you can get it going and find a copy. It's notoriously very difficult to find, but it's really great once you get it going, and one I'm still looking forward to playing again and again. Previously number 40, now number 95.
Yeah, Glory to Rome is the one that I'm not sure I've played it. Maybe there was like a print and play custom version that one person had. I don't remember if I fully played it, or maybe I just watched it. But I played the other ones that were re-implements of the other versions of this mechanic.
Right. There's Uchronia and Motainai, which are similar. They're definitely its progeny.
All right. Let's get to number 94.
All right. Number 94 is another one that's back on the list. It's a classic. It's one that, it's based on a book, and it made me read the book, and I really enjoyed the book. It's a game about building a cathedral. This is Pillars of the Earth. Mm-hmm. So it's one that the people that I regularly play with also enjoy. So it ends up getting played a little bit more than some other games. But it's a very straightforward economic sort of Euro-y type game. You are building up a cathedral, and so you're buying cards, and the cards are going to let you turn resources into points or into money. The sort of unique area of the game is how turn order is selected. Everyone's pieces go into a bag, and the first player of the round is going to pull a piece out, and then has the option of one time dropping it back in and redrawing, but then you're going to bid, and the first person to be selected, if your piece is drawn and you want to place it, you can right away, but it costs a lot of money, and money's very tight. Or you can put it on this wheel, and that means you're going to place it for free, but you're going to place it after everyone else. And so there's sort of this interesting moment of figuring out what the right cost is for your action. Because, when it comes to be your turn, you can either just place it out and pay all that money, or you can wait and see, and maybe you get something for free. It's really a very interesting decision, a very simple one, but I don't know that I've seen it implemented as well as it has been in this game. The artwork's also great, and as dry as the game kind of might be thematically, it really fits the mechanisms fit its theme as well. And if you read the books, well, there's some nice artwork of the characters, so that's a nice point too. I really have enjoyed Pillars of the Earth for a long time, and will continue to do so.
Yeah, that's the one I've been keeping on wanting to try at some point. Not nowadays, but I mean, like previously, I've had this urge because it's worker placement, and one of the early ones I want to try it, and I like how the board looks. But yeah.
Yeah, you might. I think it was reprinted recently. Something I heard that. So it might be easy to find again. But, if not, this is one to certainly try on the cruise or some other time when you're around a copy.
18, yeah. It was printed in 18.
Okay,
years ago.
Well, that's recently, I guess.
Rather recently, yeah. All right, let's go to number 93.
All right, 93 is a game I think you've played. It used to be my number 63, so a 30 spot fall, but that's all right. This is a great little game, gorgeous artwork, and an interesting set of decisions. The game is Abyss, and again, I've never played with its second expansion, which I know you say is a must. I've only played with the first, but I enjoy it a lot, even like that. So it's a really weird game. It's sort of a big card game. There's other stuff involved, but it's mostly just cards, and there's different things you can do. You're trying to get a hand of these little cards that are going to help you to buy these bigger cards, which have special abilities and bring you points. That's really it in a nutshell, but the way that it works is interesting. You flip over a card, and then everyone else has a chance to buy it instead of you, and then if no one else does, then you can buy it, but if people buy it, then they're paying you, so there's that going on. And then these larger cards have different special abilities. If you add the expansion in, then the expansion is going to add these black pearls, which are one of my least favorite rules to explain because inevitably somebody doesn't understand it. But they're bad to have, but they're also kind of good. So I don't know. I really enjoy the game, and I love the artwork. It's somebody spent a lot of time and put a lot of effort into creating a very interesting undersea world. But the game is really fast and easy to learn, and that's one thing I really enjoy about it. And so I really have been enjoying Abyss.
So, first of all, I have played this game. By the way,
I know.
This is my picture here.
Oh, okay.
This too, yeah. As you can see, the Kraken and the whatever other lord, it's from
The Leviathan expansion.
yeah, the both expansions. And here you can see the Black Pearls, and then you can see the Leviathan. It's the second expansion. I say it's a must because it replaces the monster track, which is not something you're excited about in the game. But I like so many things about the game, and it was my top 30, something like that. And then when I had the second expansion, now it's in my top 10. It's
Okay.
this expansion has just raised the game so high in the ranks for me because it's really not just a must, but a must. Yeah.
Well, maybe someday I'll play with that expansion, and maybe it will go up for me. But even as it is, just the base game by itself, it's still one I enjoy.
It is. All right. Let's get to number 92.
All right, number 92. This is a game that was previously number 80. It's fallen just a little bit as new things have come out. This is a game that has been done so many different times in so many different ways, but this is, I think, the best version of it. The game is called Space Base, and it's what we would probably call the Machikoro mechanism, right? Where you're rolling some dice, and then those dice are going to trigger all of the cards that you have. And the way it works in Space Base is, though, it's really interesting because you've got spots for the different numbers from 2 to 12, or from 1 to 12, because you roll two dice, but you can select either to split them up or to keep them together. And usually if you keep them together, the cards are a little bit better, but if you split them up, you're able to get more things. And then as you buy new cards to replace those, the ones that you take are going to flip around and tuck behind your board, and so those are going to be the ones that activate as passive turns, so when it's not your turn. And so it's really interesting because it's very fast, and you're always engaged, waiting to see, whenever someone rolls the dice, well, you're getting a turn and you get to do something. The only thing you can't do is buy a new card. You have to wait until your turn for that. But it's just a very fast and interesting game. There is an expansion. I guess there were 2 expansions, and one of them took you through a kind of a stupid story, but but ultimately added some fun things. And then the other one was just a big box that holds everything and had, cards for way too many players. But I really like Space Base, though. Just as its core, it's so easy to introduce to people. There's one rule I hate explaining, but There is, it's just, it's light and delightful and fast, and just everybody seems to have a good time with it. And I don't know that I need this one and Machikoro and whichever of the Valeria games does this in my regular gaming list, but this is the one that I would pick. I really like it.
Mm-hmm. You said it's basically like Machikoro, at least the mechanism, and that's why it turns me off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe
Don't
you
want to
should
do
try
that.
it. Maybe you'll like it.
Yeah, maybe, but so far, yeah, not just interested at
It's
all. And
it's
space theme.
very well. I mean, the space theme is barely there, but but it's very easy to introduce to people, which is one of the things I like best about it.
All right. So number 91.
Number 91 is a game that I'm pretty sure you have not played. This is a long, complicated, story-driven campaign game,
Nope.
which I tend to gravitate to, and some other people tend to gravitate away from. This is the game. It almost replaces Seventh Continent for me. If you're looking for a feel, the game is Tainted Grail.
Mm-hmm.
And so in Tainted Grail, you are a, like a person, not a person of any speciality. You're like the blacksmith's apprentice in some old sort of King Arthur type area, and all the heroes of your village have gone away and never came back, and you're trying to go out. The land is plagued by a certain weirdness, which is a mist, and you've got to go out, but you can't go very far. You've got these statues that enable you, they hold back the weirdness so that you can explore different areas. And you just kind of go, right? It says, here you go, this is what you're trying to do, and you explore until the game tells you, haha, you've won. And then you play through the campaign. I played through the base campaign and I played through one of the expansion campaigns, and I really enjoy both of them. The thing I don't enjoy is that there's a lot of rules. I mean, this is rules overhead is really a big issue. So if you're going to teach it to someone, it's got to be someone who's going to play it all the way through and make it worth the explanation. The combat system in the game is one of my favorite combat systems, though. It's really, you've got this card, and you've got your own hand of cards, and you've got to match up the symbols, and then if you have other symbols on your cards, you can play different ones, and then depending on how much damage you do to the enemy, it tells you how it's going to react. And so you can kind of plan that. It's very much a very thinky type of combat, but it's really very fascinating. The story is great. It's well written, it's engaging, and I'm confident that you can play the same campaign again and get to different places, because I did not see near all of what there was available when I played through it. So anyway, I really like Tainted Grail. I will admit freely that it is not for everyone, but it's one that I've really, really been engaged with, and I'm always looking forward to an opportunity to go back. But I just know that I need to make sure I have a lot of time and a lot of space to sort of set it up, play through the campaign in entire, and that's really the only way to enjoy this game.
Yeah, that's not the game I would turn down because that's the game I was interested in. But yeah, because it's more of a solo game and it's huge, it's thematic. I still have my Seventh Continent that I haven't played really much. Just one or two
Well,
games, you know. So, I mean, I just don't have enough time or urge to invest more time into such game. But this is the game that interests me very much. Plus, the
yeah.
Making Realms, I do like them.
It's really a winner, and if you were able to find, you can play, I mean, you don't have to play it solo, but if you were able to find someone who would be willing to commit to playing all 13 to 15 chapters of the
Hmm.
campaign, because it can end at different points, then you might have a lot of fun with it.
All right. Yeah. So let's get to number 90.
All right. Number 90 is a game I know you've played because you played it with me the first time. and this is
No,
a cooperative game that is about
no,
breaking into a building and stealing stuff. That is
never.
Burgle Brothers. Ah, never? Okay, good.
Mm.
So Burgle Brothers is, like I said, a cooperative game about breaking into a building and stealing stuff. And that's it, right? I mean, it's a really interesting way to do it, though. You've got 3 floors, and depending on where you are, you've got to sort of manage where you are in this 3D space because there's guards that are patrolling on each floor, and depending on where you are, that's going to activate different guards. You're moving either carefully, peeking in and making sure you're not going to stumble into something horrible, or you're just blindly bumbling through this building looking for the safe. The cooperation is great because you're working with the other players actively to make sure that you're not going to leave somebody in a situation to get trampled by a guard as he moves there, moves back, and moves there, and then just kills the person. It's the theme really works for this game, and the mechanisms are simple enough that you don't really even need to teach it. You just say, hey, on your turn you do these things, and then we'll teach you how the guard goes. And it's just a great fun game in a very small package that works well with a wide variety of people.
I agree that it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle in the box, basically. It's
I mean, how do puzzles usually come?
Yeah, true. I mean, like they can be without the box,
Okay.
just scattered across the road. No, I mean this game is fun. It's rather thematic for what it is, and the cooperation here, I feel it's done well.
It is.
It's a strong mechanism here, cooperation mechanism. So yeah, that's a good choice.
All right. It was previously my number 54, by the way.
Hmm.
All right.
But what's your number 89?
My number 89 used to be my number 56. This is a long, story-driven, cooperative card game. A game that you can invest lots of time and lots of money into. The game is the Arkham Horror Living Card Game.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is a really interesting story, right? It takes the same Arkham Horror art that you find in all the other games of this publisher and puts it into a card form. And you're going to play these different campaigns, right? You buy one campaign and you can play it. You could play one-off adventures, but that's not the way that it's really designed. And so you'll take a character, you'll follow some story depending on how well you do or the different choices you make. You'll make notations which will come back and help you or hurt you at a later point in the game, or maybe send you down a different path. Just a lot of story is in this game, and it's a really good one to kind of set up and just play through the entire story. Now, this is the game I've played, I guess, with the most people. We were in a 400-some player game of The Blob Who Ate Everything, which was just a great experience. But it's just at its core, as a solo game or a 2-player game, is really where it shines. And you've got a lot to explore. If you want to do deck construction, you can. I don't want to. That's not the part of the game that I really enjoy. I enjoy just playing through the story. And so they actually sell now these characters that sort of self-build themselves for people who want to just take a character and have it get better, but not have to worry about, okay, I have a brick of 2,000 cards and I can choose one to add to my deck. But I really enjoy it. I enjoy, just like I said, taking one campaign, setting it up, and spending the whole weekend playing through it, and then putting it away and not playing it for a while. But anyway, it's one that I know you've also played and I hope enjoyed. But that is my number 89, previously my number 56.
I have played this one. I enjoy it. I only have the base game, and I played the third scenario many times. Mostly because I always started with new folks, and I tried it solo. I tried it. That's one of those solo games, and I don't like solo at all. I played it solo. Really enjoyed it solo. It was so much fun. But I liked it even more with 2 players because I just do like the cooperation. I just
Yeah.
love it more with other people. The problem it has is you need to not even like invest in it economically, but you have to invest some time in it. You have to kind of play it. If you get it, you just have to play it. And at that
Right.
time, I didn't have the time. Plus, also the box is the base box basically. It's 1 or 2 players. If it would
Right.
have been 4 players, then it would have stayed in my collection. I
Just
think
have to buy
because
2 boxes.
yeah, which is I hate that, which is why it's gone. But yeah, it's a great game. And out of the, I haven't played all of the Arkham Files games, but I played the Arkham Horror, the second edition, I think was the one. Then 2005 one. Then I played the Eldritch Horror, and then I played the Arkham Horror, the third edition as well, and then the card game. Out of those four, this is the best one I think because it just crams all the juice, all the best juice, and this kind of a card game. Eldritch
Right.
Horror is just meh, whatever. And Arkham Horror, the second edition, was my favorite so far. I don't know, just it gives me that same vibe, but in a such a better way. Less components, less setup. Just go into it. Just enjoy the
Right.
Cthulhu methods.
Basically, so far Cthulhu hasn't, I don't think, shown up. No, no, I think he was in one. But anyway, yeah, it's definitely the strongest in terms of story of that series, other than maybe Mansions of Madness, but that's a different game. So,
All right,
all right.
let's get to number 88.
Okay, number 88 is kind of related to number 89, right? It's kind of related to the Arkham Horror card game.
It's also a
and I
board game?
kind of it is also, yes.
Thank
It's by the same publisher, but it kind of feels the same. It feels like a different spin on that system. And that game is Marvel Champions. So Marvel Champions is very similar in terms of what you're doing. But as opposed to Eldritch Horror, or not, sorry, Eldritch Horror, Arkham Horror, the card game, Marvel Champions is really a series of one-off scenarios, right? You're going to take this villain against this hero or set of heroes. There are 2 campaigns, but they're weak, I guess I would say. Like, in terms of the story, it kind of feels more like an afterthought. But the individual scenarios are all a lot of fun to set up and play. There's a huge roster of heroes, not quite enough villains even still. I think it probably needs about 10 more, and I wish they would come out a little bit fat. They release 1 villain for every 5 heroes. But regardless, it's a fun game to play. It's an easier game to teach people just because there isn't the need to commit to a series of 10 adventures. You can just set it up, shuffle up your deck, and play 1 adventure, which is often more palatable to people, and which is why I like it slightly better. Definitely, if you had the time, Arkham Horror is a better one, or if you like that story, that world a little bit better. But if in terms of just a game to set up and play, the nod goes slightly to Marvel. But I really like it, and there's definitely a lot you can do. If you are into the sort of building of decks, there's a million cards now. If you're not, the base decks work really well, and I enjoy that as well. So there you go.
Yeah, this is the one I've not played. As I said, CCGs, LCGs, all of these, usually not my type, not my style. I don't want to invest in them. And Marvel, I do like. I watch the superhero movies, but I'm not into it so strongly that I need to have everything Marvel now. So that's not the theme that I would just go, oh great. Arkham Horror was the one that Cthulhu made us. I was like, yes, I love this world. This
Well,
one
you're in the
is
right hobby.
I like this world. I like this world, but it's it's fine. But it's an LCG, and so far all the LCGs I've played so far, just it's not my type of game. So that's why I skipped this one,
Okay.
and I don't have any regrets of skipping
Yeah, you don't
that
need to
one.
play everything. And again, I don't know that if you already have experienced the Arkham Horror version, I don't know that this is different enough to tell you it is a different game, but to tell you you have to go out and buy it.
And now there will be 100 people that will say there is a huge difference. You know,
Okay?
there's
Well, there
always
is a
some.
huge difference. It's different. But
Yeah.
it also feels very similar.
All right. So let's get to number 87.
All right. Number 87 is a game that I have liked for a really long time. I used to have it's been on my list, I think as long as I've been doing the list, although it was by its prior title before. Now it's by the version that's widely available. The game is Favor of the Pharaoh. It used to be my number 84, so it's really not fallen at all. It used to be called Kronen und Kragen, but it's a fancy version of Yahtzee, basically, right? You you start out, and what you have to do is roll. I believe it's six dice that are the same number. It might even be seven. It's been a little while since I played it, but you start out. That's your goal. That's how you win the game. However, you only start the game with the ability to roll maybe three dice. And so every turn you're going to roll and you're going to buy a new kind of a technology. And it's going to be a new person or a new thing that's going to allow you to roll different dice or to select dice and add them to your roll at a specific number. And so you're trying to make those standard Yahtzee combinations, two of a kind, three of a kind, a full house, whatever it may be, and buy the different types of characters that are going to allow you to get the dice that are going to allow you to eventually go for the king or the pharaoh in this version. There's also special dice that are different, that have different symbols on them or different number values. So there's a lot of different ways you can play. You're building yourself up gradually until you say, okay, this is the time to go for it. And then if you do go for it, everyone else has one turn to take it from you by making a stronger offering effectively, and then you've got one turn left to defend it. So there is some advantage to going for it. It's just really a fun game. Definitely, I think the best version of that classic Yahtzee mechanism. But it's just the thought of rolling just dice and getting sets of numbers doesn't sound that exciting. But when you play it in this one, as you're constantly upgrading yourself, there just really feels like there's always something fun to do.
Yeah. I play this game. I like how it looks fine. And I like how dice or the technologies progress. But the problem of this game is it's just a Yahtzee. A bloated Yahtzee that, I don't know, it's not that exciting, in my opinion. So far, they've come out so many roll and write games that implement Yahtzee with writing or whatever extra thing, and roll and writes have kind of taken that place, the crown of being Yahtzee games, and this one just it hasn't aged well, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's aged very well.
All right. Your number 86.
My number 86 is a game that you haven't played and probably never will. This is an interesting deck building game, but it's deck building with a whole lot of other things going on. The game is called Codex. It's like a combination of a deck builder with Mage Wars, with kind of there's technologies. It's a very difficult game to describe. So that's why I have trouble describing it. But it's interesting because, of course, you can buy one. Well, I don't think you can anymore, but you could buy one box with everything that there ever will be for the game. So you don't have to worry about a million expansions. But what you're trying to do is reduce your opponent's base down to 0 life, and every turn you're going to add cards to your deck and draw them, and then you get to go through this binder with all the cards that are available to you and select the ones you're going to be adding to your deck. But you've got to pick because there's 3 different tracks in each binder, and so you're kind of locked in and you're trying to upgrade yourself in a way that makes sense for what you want to do. There's really a lot of strategy in this one because lots of it is just sort of deciding, this is what I want to do, this is how I'm going to accomplish it. And there are very few things in your way. Obviously, there's a little bit of luck with with some things, but it's just really a game of customizing how you're going to play it. And if you're able to find a copy and learn the game, the first play is a little bit rough, but there's really a lot for your second and third play, or even further. And I really enjoy this one, and I'm really glad that I kind of took the plunge on it and have everything for it. I really like Codex.
Yeah, as you said, it's. I haven't played that one. It's not my type of game. It's like the CCG yet again. So
Well, it's the one CG. It's just a CG. It's a card game.
no, yeah, but you can argue, but it is like a CCG.
It's like one.
Yeah. Let's get to number 85.
Okay, 85, again, one I don't think you've played, but a really interesting one based on a really interesting IP. The game is called Reckoners, and this is based on a series of three books from Brandon Sanderson. The first one was called Steelheart, and that's really the book that this game is based about. The other two are coming in the expansion. But you're in a world where there are a bunch of evil, superpowered people, and you're a regular guy who's trying to stop them. There's dice rolling, and so you're going to roll dice and get different symbols and then set them, and you've got three rolls, but you've got to save one from each one. So it's sort of that same Yahtzee type mechanism, but it's really different here. You've got your special abilities that you're going with. It's cooperative, so you're trying to talk to the other person and say, look, let's both meet here and take out this villain because she is really bad right now, and let's ignore the other ones. Or you can say, well, okay, you do that, and I'm going to save up money to buy a bunch of special equipment. Meanwhile, you've got to get the big bad, whose name is Steelheart. You've got to get him, figure out what his weakness is, which is do this research track, and then you can finally go in and attack him. Meanwhile, he's destroying everything around you, and if you wait too long, well, then you'll just lose. There's a lot going on. It feels very hectic and tense the entire game. It incorporates the theme with a lot of love, which is always something I enjoy seeing, and I'm really looking forward to the Steel Slayer expansion, which will add the other two books. But even with just this first one, I really like it. And it's a great way to kind of have a superhero-esque experience, although very different type as you're trying to defeat them. But a great cooperative game, very strong, and a great production as well.
Yeah, not the one that I played, of course, but the one that looks interesting, and if I get the opportunity, why not? I can try this one out.
Yeah, I think you'd probably enjoy it. And it might make you want to read the books.
Yeah. Number 84.
All right. Number 84. This is up slightly from number 87. I don't know why. Probably because I played it a couple weeks ago. It's a game that has been on the list for a long time. It used to be up kind of near the top, but it's fallen a little just because it's more complicated to play than some of its other siblings. The game is Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn. It's a game with fantastic artwork. I've always loved the way, the artist that did the first set is just fantastic, and the ones that have done the subsequent sets have built on her style. This is the new version you see there, but it's really the same game. Honestly, there's very little that's changed. There are a couple of tweaks and balances. They did reprint most of the cards, but they sold a very economical upgrade pack if you'd rather.
Seems like that merged the entries as well.
Yeah, and there's no reason not to. There's really, it's the same game. Honestly, it's just a second edition with new rules, but the same artwork and the same game mechanisms. So you've got one character and you're going up fighting against another. You're summoning the creatures that are going to move out and attack, and you're using your various ways of doing damage. It's sort of that same head-to-head card game, but in a very interesting format. All of the different characters, there's 6 decks in the base box, all of them feel very different. It's also an interesting way to do deck construction because in addition to, if you were going to build your deck, which you don't have to, that you can just play the base decks, which is what I like to do. But if you wanted to, you're also choosing a pool of 10 dice, and those dice are going to be your resources. And so it really matters, if you're going to build a deck that focuses on just one type of dice, well, that means you're limited to certain cards. If you're going to do one that uses all types of dice, well, then you might not have enough resources to pay for them because if you only have two pink dice, well, that means you can play at most two cards that require them. And so it's really interesting in that aspect. But the gameplay is pretty fast, pretty straightforward, but really interesting, and it has all the depth you might be looking for if you wanted to go that way. Or you can just play it as base decks, which is the best way, and just have a great time taking one character up against another, and they're all very different and feel different, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it's the one that I played, the older version. The Ashes Rise is very important. But I played with you, and the problem is, for me at least, with such games, this, yet again, like an LCG game, if somebody's better than you, they either turn the notch down, and just be bad at the game so you can be up to par, or they will destroy you and you feel like, okay, this is the game that you need to invest in. This is the game that the first few tries are not good, in my opinion, will not give you a right taste, of the game. So, and for me, I played it. I was like, okay, that's fine. Not for me. I will not invest my time in it. So,
yeah, it's definitely one that you have to come back to.
Yeah. All right, let's get to number 83.
All right, my number 83 was previously my number 93. It's a game that I think you've also played. It's an interesting drafting game called Blood Rage. And it's a game that's I think I thought you mentioned it at one point, but So this game, it's this Viking sort of old world Norse theme. You're a clan of characters, and you're drafting different cards that are going to customize that clan as you go throughout the game. You can invest in different special abilities. You can buy these large monsters that are going to have extra power that are going to help you to win these conquests. You're trying to upgrade yourself on different tracks. There's a lot going on in the game, but it's not hard to learn. Because of the drafting, everyone sort of sees all the cards, so you kind of know what's in there. But there's just a lot of fun to be had of, okay, this game, I am going to win every single combat, and that's how I'm going to get my points. Or this game, I'm going to lose every single combat, and that's how I'm going to get my points. Or I'm going to go heavy into this particular type of way to kind of figure things out. There's just a lot of possibilities in this game, and it works well with it works okay with 2, but with 3 and 4 are really the best ways to play it. You can play with 5, but I don't think you should. But it looks great on the table. The plastic pieces are really kind of nice looking, and it's a fun one to get out. It's not my favorite in this sort of series of 3. That might be a spoiler, but it's a great entry point, and I really enjoy Blood Rage.
Yeah, that's the one I played, and that's the one I wasn't keen on playing. But once I got it through Secret Santa, I was like, okay. And then I enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. It's really good. It's Euro-y, and I'm not a Euro area control guy. I don't really like such games. I don't know, it's just not for me. But this one just implements the drafting, etc., which I don't also like. I don't like drafting. Here it's fine. It's like just it's done well for my taste. And the only downside, I hate the exclusives. Come on, because I mean, like, it shouldn't be like that. It should be something that you can buy after the campaign for a set price, whatever. This should be like that, And the ones who back the Kickstarter should just get it for free or something like that, Oh, you get this monster in, you get this monster in, but everybody else has to buy this pack of monsters for $60, That would be perfect. I hate the exclusives, and that's why
Well,
I do not support Cool Mini or Not anymore. And not any of their games on the Kickstarter, but yeah, a lot of
well,
games.
I mean that's more of an issue with its distribution. That has very little to do with how much enjoyment you can still have with the game, even
Yes,
without those two or three monsters. One of which kind of breaks the game anyway. So, but
and rare. All right, let's get to number 82.
all right, my number 82 is a large scale game. It's huge. It's a game that really I only ever play on the cruise. I've
Red
got it
7?
here. No, that game won't be on my list. This is a large kind of take over the world type of a game. It's a re-implementation of another game I really enjoy called Chaos in the Old World, but this is sort of its bigger, more bloated cousin. The game is Cthulhu Wars. And so in this game, you've got one of four factions, or if you want, 40 factions. And there are these huge figures. It's just plastic everywhere. And what you're doing is each of these characters has different ways that they're trying to win, different things they specialize in. And you're trying to upgrade those special abilities. You've got some kind of power, I forget what it's called, that you're spending every turn, and that's how you activate your different abilities. And so managing that, kind of like in Blood Rage actually, with the Rage track, that's a key aspect of it. You're also trying to control different areas so that you get more power, so that you're able to pay to get your points, because there's this ritual tracker that's going on. It's a lot of fun though, because all of the different, at least in the base set, all of the different factions play very differently and have different things that they're looking to do. And I don't know if I have everything. That's a hard thing to say about this game. But I have a lot more extra stuff as well that I never get to play with because the game's a little bit big and bloated, and hard to teach people. But I enjoy it even at its core set. It's one that I wouldn't say go out and track down everything. It's again, it's very closely compared with Chaos in the Old World, which I like a little bit better. But hey, if you like Cthulhu, he's definitely here, definitely present, definitely visible, and definitely probably something you could use as a murder weapon.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Not the one
It
that
was
I played.
previously my number 98.
Yeah, but it's Cthulhu Wars, it's area control, huge miniatures. Skip for me.
Yeah, well.
Number 81.
All right, number 81 I think is my farthest fall on the list. It's a game that I've played and I really enjoy, but because it is so brutal and so it's so unforgiving and also not that great looking, it's a game that I don't get to play nearly as much as I'd like to, but I still really enjoy. That is Food Chain Magnate. So we've already talked about how this game doesn't look amazing. It's not a game that has invested a whole lot in its components, but in terms of a game that you can play, it's a really interesting strategy game, right? You've got effectively no randomness at all, and you're building up your pyramid of employees. You're the CEO, and you can manage two people, and then you can get people that they're going to manage, and so you can do that, and then they have different special abilities, different things they allow you to do. Ultimately, the goal is to produce some fast food and to sell it to customers. But to do that, there's a lot of steps you got to go through. You got to make the food, you've got to market the food, and then you've got to do so in a way that it's going to cause the people to come to you versus go to someone else. It is very in your face for a dry Euro game. It's very it's a game where an experienced player, if you have played it once and someone else is new, you will not just win, you will win by a margin of 300 or 400 or 500 points. Because there's just a whole lot of learning goes into one game. And if you've played it one time, the people who've played it 3 or 4 are going to crush you. So it's really a game that if you want to do well in it, you've really got to invest a lot of time and money if you want to buy it because it's expensive. And again, looking at it on the table, though, it's not the kind of game that cries out, "Hey, look, I'm going to be fun, play me." But it really is. It's a fantastic game. Like I said, I don't get to play it very often because a lot of people won't enjoy it, and because nobody looks at it and says, "Ooh, I want to try that." And so that's why it has fallen down from the number 16 where it was before. But it's a game that if I found 2 or 3 people who knew what they were doing, I would jump back into and gladly lose to them. This is 81 Food Chain Magnet.
Yeah, we'll never play it. As short as I can get with my comment. All right, let's get to number 80.
Okay. Number 80 is another game that I believe you've played. This one was previously my number 28. It's fallen for no reason. This is just, I think there's so many new things that have come in above it, or that I've been sort of rediscovered recently, and so it's fallen a little, but I really enjoy it. It's a fine little economic game called Stockpile. And Stockpile is just a great game. It's a great little auction mechanism here, as you're bidding, and it's sort of a set bid amount, so you can go above someone, but you can only ever go higher, or you can jump to a different track. There's always something you're going to win, though. It might be a bunch of garbage, and you only have a little bit of information, right, because you're putting out cards face up and face down. And so sort of part of what's in a pile. There's special abilities that you can have. There's the different 6 companies you're going for are going to react differently. And you have a little information about which company is going to do well or poorly this round, so you can kind of use that to your advantage. It's a very simple game. It's not hard to learn. When it came out, I mean, I was so enamored with this game. I was playing it all the time. And even now, I really enjoy playing it. It has some expansions that add a lot to it. Some things that are just okay, and some things that are the kind of thing that you just always use. But either way, it's a great game. It looks great. It was the first game by this company. It's the same company that did the Reckoners, actually. And it's one that I've enjoyed for a number of years and continue to do so.
Yeah. I've heard of this game.
I think you have.
I heard that it's good. I do enjoy this game a lot. As you can see from my rating, it's 10. But first of all, I want to say that the first expansion is a must. The forecast dice are the ones you can leave out bonds. Bonds are fine. Commodities
I always play with
cool.
bonds.
James Bonds, yeah. But you can play with bonds. You can play with commodities as well. Commodities are fine. I like it. There's more characters that you can choose from. But the forecast dice, these are the ones that it's a must. You need to have them. Otherwise, the game is just too stale.
Okay.
In my opinion, without those dice. So, yeah, a good choice. Should have been much higher on the list.
Oh, well, it used to be. It used to be number 28.
That was better. Yeah.
All right.
Get it back there.
Well,
Number
I'll have to play it more.
79.
79. 79 is a game. This is one of 2 places on my list where 2 games kind of share the same spot, because for me they're almost the same game. I'm only going to pick one, but this one is actually in the same spot it used to be. The game is Suburbia. The game it feels very similar to is Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and again, I could on a different day pick that one over this one, but they both are sort of the same for me and and that's why they're kind of in the same spot. This year it's Suburbia. What you're doing is you're building a city. And you're going to place these tiles, and you place them, and they're going to activate different things. They're going to activate everything that's around them. They might even activate things in other people's city. The new version of Suburbia improves the way that it looks, which has brought it kind of back into the forefront in my mind. And so I like that. it's really interesting just sort of to see the different interactions and to kind of make a plan and think, okay, I'm going to go for this, and because I'm doing that, I've got to watch out for anything that affects this, because what you do in your city interestingly affects what happens on in another city. Also, the more points you get, which is the population of your city, the more it costs you, and so you've got this the growth kind of. As you start growing, you're going to get a lot more points toward the end of the game, but they're going to be more painful points because there's certain penalties that kick in as you cross certain thresholds. And that's an interesting way to kind of keep the game moving and make sure that somebody doesn't soar way out into the lead. Interesting way to implement that. I just love the game. I don't know that I loved the way that it looks, but the new version is much better, and it's in a huge box, and there's a lot of stuff, and there's expansions that add stuff. Well, the first one's really good, the other one is just okay, but I really enjoy Suburbia. I've always really enjoyed Suburbia, and it is holding steady at my number 79.
Yeah. It looks better, the new version. I cannot say that it's amazing, but it's a little bit better. It is.
I didn't say amazing. I just said better.
Yeah. No, but I improved your
Very well.
better. But Suburbia, that's where I would say I would not put Suburbia and Castlematic Ludwig onto the same spot, because for me they're very different games. I mean, like the core you can compare them, but they are not in the same vibe as King of Tokyo, King of New York, where it's basically the same game. But here, this one is very different in my opinion from Castlematic Ludwig. I don't like Suburbia, but it's a great design. But I do really enjoy Castlematic Ludwig, so
Yeah.
that's where I can see the huge difference, because I don't like one, I like the other one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll acknowledge that they are different games, but for me, the feel of them is the same. And so I kind of like them exactly the same way, and I don't necessarily, with only 100 games to put on the list, I kind of have to pick one over the other. And
Yeah.
if you were to ask me today, which of the two would you like to play, I'd pick this one. And the interactions are kind of the same, and that's sort of what the core of the game is the interactions between the different things. And that's why for me, they live in the same space in my head.
Yeah, I can see. For me, they have a different feel, so that's why. All right, number 78.
Number 78 has fallen a little. It used to be number 61, but in the sort of 60s and 70s, they're all kind of interchangeable and in a particular date, because I kind of like them all almost the same. But this one is an interesting, it almost feels like Seven Wonders. I don't know why it's compared to that. It has nothing to do with that game at all, except maybe the theme. But every time I play it, I think it feels kind of the same. The game is called Hadara, and so it's an interesting drafting game. Maybe that's why they're similar, but it's not the same way, right? You've got all the cards are out in piles on this board, and you're going to take turns and draft from each of the 5 different colors one time. You're going to draft 2 cards. You're going to select one to keep, or one, I guess, to use, I would say, and one to discard for later. And that's sort of round A. And if you play the card, you can play it into your tableau, or you can throw it away for money. And then as you build cards of the same colors, they become increasingly cheaper. So if I play a green card that costs 5 coins, the next one I play would cost 1 less. And so if you invest heavily in one color, you're able to get things out much more economically. And then after you've gone around that and done each card once, then you're going to sort of take turns drafting from the cards that were discarded. And so you can put something away and hope that you have more money for it later and hope nobody else wants it. Lots of ways to kind of manipulate this. But it's very straightforward. The rules are super simple. In fact, my copy's in German, but nobody knows that because there's nothing really to read. But it's a really simple. The rules are super straightforward, but it's so much fun to play. It's so much fun to kind of make your choices and say, okay, I'm going to get one of every color, and I'm going to get several rows because you can invest in end game scoring that's going to give you points for that. But it's cheaper if you buy it earlier. So making your decisions early will help inform the choices you make later, or maybe it won't because maybe you don't see what you like. There's a lot going on here, but within a very simple rule set and within a very fast time frame. It's one that I really enjoy. Hadara.
Yeah, another one that I've played because I'm not into drafting games usually. So, and I've tried Seven Wonders. I didn't like it that much. So,
Yeah, and again, I don't know why it's always compared because the two are very different games, but
mm,
you might like this one. It might be worth a try.
no, drafting. All right, let's get to number 77.
Oh yes, I was waiting for the numbers. I don't know why. Number 77 is another game that I think you said it was on your one and or the great games that you're thanking for their service and not coming back to. This is a game that I have not yet thanked for its service, and I am coming back to. It is Neuroshima Hex, or Neuroshima Hex, because there's that exclamation point there. But it's an interesting little puzzle of a game. You take two different factions, hopefully only two. You can play with three or four, but you never should. And you're placing them out in different spaces, and then they're going to attack in different orders based upon their priority. And that's really the puzzle of the game here, is putting things out in such a way that they're not going to be blocked or killed by something else so that they can attack. Usually your high, heavy attackers, well, they can't necessarily shoot. Well, sometimes they can, but they might be a lower priority. So if you put them out in the wrong place, they can just get killed and then not be able to fire. So there's a lot of that kind of, this needs to happen before this, which needs to happen before this, which is going to be amazing. And so then it's protecting things. It's you're drawing some tiles out of a bag or out of a pile and selecting two to use and one to pitch. So it's not a very long game. It's going to come to an inevitable conclusion. And then you can start the combats at different times. Some of the pieces you play are going to start the combat, and knowing when to do that is also part of the game. It's a really interesting game that's been around for a long time and has a lot of different expansions. And they keep coming out with more. So it's definitely not a dead game. So if it's one that if you got interested in, you've got a lot to explore. It's one that definitely you'll enjoy more if you play it more, and if you play it with people who've played it a lot, because there's a lot more to explore beyond sort of the core mechanisms. It's if you get into it, it just tends to be more rewarding. So I really have enjoyed this game. It's down just a little. It was my number 69 last time. Now my number 77, Neuroshima Hex.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one I played. And as you said, you need to invest a lot into this game in order to enjoy it thoroughly, because in this case it's just the same as with Arkham or the card game. Though you may say for every game you may say that the more you play a game, the better you like it, because the more you understand the game. It might be with every game, but with this one
Not really.
it's just not based mostly. I could say I can. The first time I play Stockpile, maybe the fifth time I play Stockpile, I uncover some kind of a strategy or something like that will make me enjoy the game even more. But with these games, they are based on that big replayability, that you have to invest in it. You have to learn the armies, different ones, the ones your opponent has, the ones you have, etc. It's not a bad game. It just, in our time when so many games come out, I feel like these games are not popular anymore. I mean, like, they are as this kind of a side hobby. No, I mean, like, if you go with Magic the Gathering, etc., but its own meta there, but I can see more and more games that can be played once and you explore the whole game and then you just enjoy the repeated plays. This one is just you are exploring what to do with tiles and strategies, etc. This is a different one. It's an old school approach to board games. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, right? I mean, there are some games like Hadara, for example. I could feel, even though I enjoy repeated plays, it's not like there was some piece of the rules or some interaction that was confusing to me or that I missed the first time. I'll enjoy the second play at sort of the same level. With this one, that first play might be very difficult, right? It might be with somebody, it's like, okay, you just make bad choices and get obliterated. And so in order to sort of really get the full experience, you have to come back. It's with any of those sort of like the Ashes type of a game as well, right? There's going to be more that as you invest more, you're going to get more enjoyment because there's things you just won't be able to see and process on your first time. Whereas many other games that I also really enjoy, you can see everything and everyone will enjoy it kind of the same level the first time. I guess that's kind of the distinction that I would make.
Yeah, short to basically you have the full experience versus you have a partial experience, in my opinion.
That you can earn if you can earn you can come back and earn the rest if you want.
Because you're in the army, son.
Exactly.
With
I wouldn't want to join those armies. Okay.
Yeah, let's get to the last one for today. That's number 76. And
All right.
after that, there will be no more videos because 76.
We're going
No,
to
I'm
stop
kidding.
here. Okay.
We're gonna
Good.
Today.
Well,
For today.
the rest of my list's kind of predictable. So we'll go with number 76. Number 76 has also fallen a bit. It was previously number 33. Again, it hasn't fallen for any reason other than that it's huge. And I think the fact that it's now so big makes it the kind of thing where I'm like, I want to play it, but do I really want to get it out? And that is Terraforming Mars.
Even great empires fall.
Yeah, well, and I really enjoy Terraforming Mars. It's a fantastic game. It holds up really well. Even, now, how old is it now? It's 5 years old. And it really holds up well after 5 years. I remember playing it the first couple of times and thinking, this would be great with a few expansions. And now there's just so much. And some of the expansions are definitely better than others. But what you're doing is you're going out and trying to colonize Mars and make it habitable. And what you're really doing is you've got cards and you're playing them out and you're trying to figure out a way to get points. And there's a lot of ways to do that, right? Some cards will just give them to you. Some cards will let you have interesting special abilities that you can trigger that will enable you to do other things, which will enable you to get points. You can also just try and gather the resources and build long chains of forests, which will help you, progress the end game and also get you points. There's a lot of things to do, though, and there's the newer Ares Edition version that I also enjoy, but I haven't quite played it enough to decide whether I like it better than the original. The original definitely is bigger, though, and it's definitely more bloated, unfortunately. But if you get people who already enjoy it and are ready to sit down and play a kind of a long game, then it can be really very rewarding. I loved Terraforming Mars from the first time I played it. It does not look amazing, right? There's some components and I don't know. I mean, nobody writes home and says, "Oh, this game looks fantastic. I really want to play it." But thematically, it works, and the mechanisms all are very fun and very rewarding to kind of get together. You always feel like you're doing something, even if you're losing. You kind of always feel like, okay, at least I had a bunch of turns, and and I felt like I used those turns well. And I really enjoy the game, and I don't know that it's fallen for any reason other than the fact that it's in a huge box now, and I don't ever want to get it out because then I've got to put it away again at the end. But hey, I still really like Terraforming Mars.
Yeah, as you said, it's a great theme. The first time I So the prototype of this game, it was 2015 or 14 when they showed the prototype at their booth, the Freaks Games brothers, and yeah, I saw
And
a
it still looks
huge
like the prototype.
successful future, yeah, for this game. But yeah, it's not an eye-catchy game. It's bloated, it's big, it's for me it's too long for what it is, and now I got the card game version, which I feel is a better version for such a game. But people love Terraforming Mars, and that's fine. And even I enjoyed my few plays of it. It was really good. It just, you know, you, this design needs to be re-implemented, or the second edition to come out. Because you have Ares
Some
Expedition.
people might say it was.
Ares Expedition explores new mechanics. It's Roll for the Galaxy meets, or Race for the Galaxy meets Terraforming Mars. But if you go straight Terraforming Mars and do the second edition and just strip out everything that's not needed, add few expansion modules, whatever, and just make it kind of even the collector's edition, not even the ones that wasn't on the Kickstarter, which was just 3D printed some stuff, sculpts, whatever. It's still bloated. I mean, like, this one just needs a revamp, a great new edition with new artwork based on that experience from Ares Expedition. But Ares Expedition is not. It's different mechanics. It gives you the vibe with that card play, but it's not the same game.
No, it's not. And I don't know that I want to buy it again, so I think I don't want another edition. I think this edition is for people who want this one, and Ares Expedition is for people who want that one. But look,
I feel there
again,
will be.
it has some warts, but it's really very enjoyable, and I'm glad I discovered it back at Gen Con a couple of years ago, and I've gotten a lot of play out of this game. I could check. Maybe I should check how many times I played the game, but it's definitely a lot. I mean, probably a shocking number for how long the game is. Everyone really has enjoyed it, and I don't know. It's going to be on my list for a while. Who knows if it'll stay at number 76 or not? But hey, it's a fun one.
It's number 4 here. Yeah.
I've played it 95 times.
Well, okay. Yeah. While Scythe
So-
is 14, which is for me, like, Scythe is a much better design.
Well, I mean,
But
hey, that's your list. This is a group list you're looking at there. But I do like Scythe a little bit better than Terraforming Mars. Although when they came out, I did not. So this is one where Scythe has kind of aged up, and Terraforming Mars has aged down.
Yeah,
but
that's what I feel.
we'll talk
The
about
same.
Scythe a little bit later, probably.
all right, so this was the list for today. We're gonna catch up in 2 weeks. It will be Saturday or Sunday.
In 2
It
weeks and
depends.
not one, I guess we'll figure it out.
Or 1 week. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to do it this next weekend, and then we're going to skip a week because I'll be out of town.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that was
Mm-hmm.
next week. Yeah. Well, you'll see us post the.
We don't even know.
Yeah. I got confused because next week I still have some things to do, but it will be Saturday or Sunday. Sometimes we have to postpone it to the next day, but you just look out for it. It's weekends.
And you don't have to watch it live. It'll be here forever.
Yeah, which is great in my opinion. So, but thank you for watching,
Yeah, it was fun.
and we'll see you next time for 75 through 51. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. See you then.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.